Good day everyone, I am Rhea Marie de la Cruz from BSEE 4A. Today I will be discussing this part of the timeline which shows the development of writing, books, printing, language, and the preservation of information. Let us start with this slide. 520 BC, Chinese small seal script. During this period, the Chinese developed the small seal script, which is a style of writing that was small and vertically rectangular in form. This became important because it helped make Chinese writing more organized and standardized. It was also preserved on stone slabs or stelae, especially for official documents and ceremonial purposes. The small seal script eventually became an important part of the development of Chinese calligraphy. Now, as writing continued to develop, people also needed better ways to preserve written information. And that is why, around this time, which is the 100 AD, the book or codex became an important development. This is now about the books and parchment. Before, people commonly used long rolls such as papyrus, but parchment became another material used for writing. It was made from specially prepared animal skin. Unlike a long scroll, the codex consisted of separate pages that were gathered together, as in similar to the books that we use today. This made information easier to organize, read, and preserve. And there was still a problem. Well, copying books by hand was very slow and it requires a lot of effort, right? And because of this, people eventually developed better ways to reproduce written materials. And as the time goes by, let us now move on to the woodblock printing around 105 AD. This is when the Chinese developed woodblock printing. This is the process that is very simple. First, an image or text was carved in reverse onto a piece of wood. Then ink was applied to the block and then it was pressed onto materials such as a paper or a fabric. This was important because people could now reproduce the same text or image multiple times instead of writing every copy by hand. Although it still took time to carve each wooden block, it was a major step forward in the development of printing. But printing technology continued to improve, and now it is about Johannes Gutenberg and the movable printing press. This is around 1455. In 1455, Johannes Gutenberg developed the movable printing press. Unlike woodblock printing, where an entire page had to be carved into one block, Gutenberg used individual, moving pieces for letters. These letters could be arranged to form words used for printing and then rearranged again for another page. And because of this, printing became much more efficient and flexible. This invention of Johannes was very important because it made books and other written materials easier to reproduce. And as a result, excuse me, knowledge and information became more accessible to more people. And now let us move on to 1755. This is about Samuel Johnson's dictionary. Moving on to 1755, Samuel Johnson published a dictionary of the English language. Yes, and this dictionary became one of the most influential dictionaries in the history of the English language. It helped standardize English spelling rather, and explain the meanings of words. It contained more than 40,000 words, and Johnson worked on it for around 8 years. Yes, it took a very long time, right? And this shows that as more books and printed materials became available, there was also a need to organize and standardize the language. And speaking of organizing knowledge, this brings us to the Library of Congress. Let us now talk about the Library of Congress in 1802. The Library of Congress was established in the United States in 1802, and it serves as an important research library, and it is one of the largest libraries in the world. Its role is to collect, preserve, and organize different sources of information such as books, documents, and other important materials. This is important because producing information is not enough, right? We also need ways to preserve it for future generations. And lastly, during this period, another important invention was the carbon arc lamp. What is the carbon arc lamp? So, the carbon arc lamp used two carbon rods, and then when the rods were brought together and then slightly separated, an electric arc was produced between them, creating what? It creates a bright source of light. And this invention is another example of how technology continued to develop and improve people's lives.
Hello everyone, I am Delaney Rogel, and now that we've discussed the earlier developments that help shape the flow of information and communication, let's move on to some important innovations that paved the way for the modern information age. So next year, or for the next era, we have 1824 or year 1824, which is it is the emergence of research on persistence of vision, or VOV. During 1824, it was published, and this concept explains how our brain perceives a series of individuals' images as continuous motion. When still images are shown rapidly one after another, they appear to move. This principle became the foundation of motion pictures, animation, and eventually modern video technology. So, even though the images are still, they appear to move if it is shown rapidly one after another. And this inspires the foundation of motion pictures, or the moving images like animations and modern video technology. And next one, we have 1830s. During the 1830s, the first design of a digital computer was created by Charles Babbage. He called this invention the analytical engine, which is considered the precursor of modern computers. Although it was designed mainly to perform arithmetic calculations, its concept inspired future computer development. And one important figure who worked with Babbage was Augusta Lady Byron, also known as Ada Lovelace, and she translated and expanded notes about the analytical engine and created what is recognized as the first computer program, making her the world's first computer programmer. So because of his contribution to Babbage, he was recognized as the first computer programmer. And in 1837, another major innovation emerged, which is the telegraph, and it was invented by Samuel Morse. The telegraph revolutionized long-distance communication by transmitting electrical signals through wires between stations. To send messages effectively or efficiently, Morse developed this thing called Morse code. It is a series or system of dots and dashes that represents letters of the alphabet, and this system was widely used especially during World War I. And also, during this period, the first publicly shown talking pictures also appeared. These films included synchronized sound effects and orchestral music, although they did not yet contain spoken dialogue. Next is in the year 1939. In 1939, this is where the television broadcasting began in the United States. And one of the first major broadcasts featured President Franklin D. Roosevelt that opens the New York World's Fair. And Although only around 1,000 people watched the event due to the limited number of television sets available, it marked the beginning of television as a powerful medium for mass communication. So up until today, we can't deny that television is an effective way or a powerful medium for mass communication. And looking back to its history, this is all where it began in 1939, which is when it began in United States. And in the next year, which is 1940s, during these years, information science emerged as a formal discipline. It combined knowledge from many fields, including computer science, psychology, mathematics, communication, economics, and library science. So when we say information science, it doesn't only focus on one aspect or in one knowledge of field. It is a combination of many fields, just like what I mentioned: science, psychology, mathematics, communication, economics, and such. And as a discipline, information science focuses on how information is collected, organized, stored, and transferred. This field became essential in managing the growing amount of information generated by the society. So it is also a form of collection of information for us to manage the growing amount of information in today's world. And the next is in 1945. It is the concept of hypertext began. Because in 1945, when Vannevar Bush introduced the idea of a device called Memex. Although it was never built, Bush created or described he didn't create it. He only described it as a machine that could store books, records, and communication and allow users to connect related information through links. Take note that Vannevar Bush didn't officially build the Memex. He only introduced the idea of it, the purpose, and its features. And because of that idea, the concept inspired the development of hypertext, which eventually became one of the key foundations of the World Wide Web and modern information systems. And the next year is the year 1946. In 1946, the ENIAC, or Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer, was developed, and it is considered the first electronic general-purpose computer, and it was built during World War II. ENIAC could perform calculation much faster than human, making it a major breakthrough in computing technology. The development of ENIAC marked the beginning of modern computing and laid the groundwork for the computer we use today. So, meaning to say that this era or years that I have mentioned paved the way or enhanced heavily for us to have what we have today. And these innovations, from motion pictures and telegraph to information science and early computers, played a crucial role in shaping the information age. And now, let's move on to the next developments that further transformed how information is processed, shared, and accessed around the world.